On March 20th, 2022, Zendaya Updates tweeted, "Photo of Zendaya and Tom seen in Boston earlier today," with a photo of Zendaya and Tom Holland. Caribe responded, "I'm sorry, but can we take a moment to praise how Tom isn't afraid to be around minorities?" This is the Museum of Twitter, the show we talk about the most important tweets in the history of Twitter.com. The phrase "the bar is on the floor" is thrown around a lot, but in this case, the bar is really on the floor. Caribe is praising actor Tom Holland because Tom Holland is not actively scared of minorities. Like, what? That's like the bare minimum to being a respectable member of society. This is just such an insane thing to say. And it makes me, honestly, completely fascinated by this Caribe person. Because they are at the center of a weird Venn diagram that makes them say something this crazy. The one circle they're in is that they clearly know that racism is bad. And based on the tone of this tweet and other tweets, it feels like they're extremely online, and so you almost get the impression that they learned that racism was bad through osmosis on the internet. But clearly, they think that it is normal to be scared around minorities. Because that's the only way that you would think you would be praiseworthy at all for someone not to be. It's why if someone keeps calm when a rattlesnake is near them, you're like, oh my god, that was so impressive how you kept calm with that rattlesnake. But you wouldn't say the same thing if like a bunny rabbit was next to them. It's normal to be scared of snakes, it's not normal to be scared of bunny rabbits. And clearly in this case, Caribe thinks that minorities are something to be afraid of. But the elephant in the room here is that Caribe kinda doesn't sound like the name of a white person. Obviously, we don't know if this is the real person's name, the account no longer exists, and if you zoom in on their profile photo, it's not clear if either of the people in it are not white. So like, everything other than the name paints a pretty clear picture of who this person is to me, but the name throws a wrench into it. By the way, the tweet that makes me definitely think that this person lives online and is way too online and needs to touch grass is a thing they followed up with saying, "I'm sorry, but some of you don't have social anxiety and it shows. Tom grew up in the suburbs. He did not grow up around diversity, and it's understandable that he might be nervous." And in some ways, this tweet might actually be worse, because what she's saying is, if you don't grow up around a variety of ethnicities of people, it is understandable and in some ways okay to be afraid of them. And the thing that is so crazy, and in a lot of ways honestly insidious about this, is that she is using, like, therapy speak to talk about it. Once again, this is how I cobbled together the image of this person. My guess is that she grew up in a pretty racist area, probably with racist parents, but she went online, got involved in Stan Twitter, and so she knows, like, aesthetically that racism is bad, but she hasn't really unlearned any of the racist stuff that she internalized. And she probably assumes that everyone she encounters on Stan Twitter who's like racism is bad has the same thoughts that she does. And like, anytime she sees a white person who's not uncomfortable around a black person, she's thinking, well, they must be really good at suppressing the fear inside them. Like, not to make too big a thing of this, but as someone who obsesses over the ways that people talk on the internet, I think it is really notable how things like being uncomfortable around minorities are repackaged in left-leaning sounding therapy speak. Like, it's actually sinister to try to repackage racism into being about social anxiety and growing up in the suburbs. Also, it's not like Tom Holland grew up in rural Montana. Like, he went to school in London and was acting professionally by the time he was like 12. Like, what does Caribe imagine his life was like? And to make an obvious point that I've been putting off, just because like it's so obvious, I don't even have to say it out loud. But clearly the reason why Caribe is saying this is because the two other people in the photo other than Tom and Zendaya are black people. And so she's remarking that Tom is not afraid to be around those guys. But of course Zendaya, his then girlfriend, now fiance, and longtime co-star, is also a minority. Does Caribe think it's praiseworthy for him not to be afraid of his girlfriend? Now, I'm being facetious, and I do fully understand what's going on here. Clearly, Caribe doesn't put Zendaya in that category, because what they mean when they say minority is dangerous, because they're racist, and racism doesn't have to make sense. So people obviously made fun of this person a ton. It's why their account's not up anymore. But some funny responses I found is that Bean tried to say it was satire, but John says, I think correctly, that is a normal stand in the wild. Those people are 100% serious. And like I said, the follow-up posts lead me to believe they're definitely serious. And Jacob responded to a time when the screenshot was reposted with, "This guy would give a Medal of Honor to every white person living in the Bronx." Which, like, yeah. And for a short time, it became one of those phrases that people just randomly tweeted because it's so absurd to say. Like, Adri said, "Can we take a moment to praise how Tom isn't afraid to be around minorities?" And Liam Bright said, "Woke up today thinking about how Tom Holland isn't afraid of minorities. Thank you." And it's been brought up as a comparison point to joke about or to point out other times when the bar's on the floor. Sometimes I think it's done unfairly. Like when Bose posted the video of Emma Stone being really excited for Lily Gladstone when she won a SAG award, and they said, "Can we acknowledge how happy Emma Stone was for Lily Gladstone? My heart is so full right now." Eamon O'Shea said, "This is the same energy as the one picture of how Tom isn't afraid to be around minorities." I think this is a little unfair because I do think that Emma Stone was above and beyond excited for Lily Gladstone, and they became really good friends over the press tour and over all the award circuit. So like, I think that Eamon needs to cool their jets a little bit. But one time I do think it's appropriate is when Kennedy, Taylor's version, posted a video of the Kelsey brothers hugging and said, "Petition for the Kelseys to write a book on raising boys secure enough to show emotion." Brodo, I can't say the rest of his display name or his @ name, said, "Petition for Tom Holland to write a book on not being afraid to be around minorities." Because like, yeah, I know that there are guys who might be too insecure to cry while hugging their brother when their career is over, but like, that's not that high of a bar. And this tweet is referenced in joking ways when white people are with minorities in photos. Lots and lots of people referenced it a few months ago when there was the video of Tom Holland hanging out with Zendaya's family, but it's been used to talk about Jeremy Strong taking a photo with a woman of color. Someone said it jokingly about Brie Larson when she took a photo with Iman Vellani and Tiana Paris promoting the Marvels. And in a perfect tweet, Uncle Gwar said it about Paul Muad'Dib Atreides in the Dune films. films. The thing is, I think that this tweet is actually important in a lot of ways. Because as I've been alluding to, I think that only the internet could form someone's brain to say this sentence. I think that this sentence exists because of the way that the internet can teach people that there are certain social signals they should send out without ever actually doing any work on the underlying things that they're thinking. Because of course, anyone who has actually done any work on themselves to get rid of the racist ideas or racist tendencies in their head would know that it is not praiseworthy to just be around minorities. But someone who's done none of that work, but just has the veneer of knowing like, okay, you shouldn't be racist, they might say that. Also, there's a good chance that Caribe hasn't had a conversation with someone not on Twitter in like 5 years, so that makes you say a lot of crazy things. Follow me for a new tweet every day, and from now until the 17th, please check out the link in my bio where I'm doing a charity fundraiser for this group called Zebra Youth, which is a Central Florida-based charity that helps LGBTQ youth. I'm doing a 24-hour live stream where people will donate money and choose what superhero movies I watch during that live stream. It's really fun. All the information is in the link in my bio. Please check it out if you're able.